Well, hello, my YouTube friends. It is my greatest pleasure to present you my newest acquisition, the Maximus, Mighty Maximus from SAVIDAN. But before going any further, and not boring you too much with the case, let's start with the case, actually. And a word about that, I've mentioned that already on my previous video. When you are going to buy multi-hundreds or $1,000 knives, I wish that more makers would take some attention to the details around the knife, the case being one of them. And you see, THIERRY, for that matter, does great, as most of the French makers, actually. I'm being chauvinistic a little bit now. So yeah, having a great knife should come with a great case as well. And this, like, almost semi-hard case is just great with the patch of the maker here, the little pouch inside, the card. You know, it's a great add to the great knife that is just whoa right here. So out the case now, and let's start the review of that knife. First of all, let's take a minute to contemplate this little thing. And I'll try to shut up if I can. Oh, fuck, I can't. So this is the Mighty Maximus, the most iconic design from SAVIDAN, who has one of the most impressive eye for design I know of. And now, oh! Check that marvel. Yeah, THIERRY has a fantastic eye for design. He is well known here in France and overseas, but not to the right extent. I mean, honestly, he should be really more famous than what he is, actually. And I wish that more people could get a grab on his knives, which is something that I mentioned to him a lot of times, because most of the time he's selling his knife first come, first served. So basically, you don't have the opportunity to grab his knives on his table because they're gone in a minute. And you cannot appreciate the beauty of his knives, and that's a shame. So if you ever have the chance to grab one of his knives, man, you can just jump on it. His construction is just fantastic by all means. His knives are just perfect. His designs are great. You know, he's an inspiration for someone that you know very well, who is actually Tashi Barusha. And you can tell that Tashi, and he's not even, I mean, Tashi will say that, and he said it already, he takes a lot of inspiration, whether it's on the way that he makes these knives and the designs. THIERRY is an inspiration for Tashi. But I mean, he's an inspiration for everyone. I mean, all his designs are just neat, and I mean, they talk to me as they should. And this one is the most iconic of all of them. It is the Maximus. So I already had one Maximus, and I was expecting this one for quite a while, because I really wanted to have one precisely to my, not to my liking, but I wanted to have a special one. And actually it took time because of issues with the material, and that knife actually is what I would call a serendipity. So, yeah, serendipity. You know, I was thinking about that. You know, the idea of the serendipity is not something that we know in France. It's weird. You know, we have the syntax that is very different, and sometimes words can mean other things. An idea that people have in some places, and in other places they don't. So in France, for instance, we don't know about the idea of serendipity. The people don't know about that. I mean, they don't know what a serendipity is, as they don't know what I was talking about that with some other friends. The idea, for example, of, when you say yes, but. In France, we don't know why, but the notion of yes, but is not something that is known, whereas in the US, for example, it's something that is very well known, and we all know that in every but there is an asshole. So no rationalization if you want to excuse yourself. present your excuse, just say yes and fuck it with it. I don't know where I'm going when I say that. Oh yeah, serendipity. Why this is a serendipity? So for those of you who don't know what serendipity is something of a great outcome coming from an accident. And the accident was the material on this knife, because I wanted, Jesus Christ, 5 minutes, I'm only ranting. I wanted on this knife to have hidden hardware. First of all, here the detent. Ooh, my God. I wanted to have hidden hardware. I wanted to have mother of pearl scale. And man, THIERRY tried to find a way to make it happen for the hidden hardware, but it looks really hard with those, this contouring that he does on the scales. And the mother of pearl was always breaking and breaking and breaking. So those were the accidents. He couldn't get the hidden hardware and he couldn't get the mother of pearl to be done. And I had one piece of carbo quartz that I had on extra, actually. Thanks to my friend Jim, that delivered me actually 2 pieces, and this one was a big piece that I had like that, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I say, hell, I don't want to wait anymore. Just use the freaking carbo quartz, do the screws, try to make them, blending well in the knife. And this is what he did. And man, oh man, the outcome is just stupendous. There goes my serendipity. Now, let's start the review after 6 minutes of nonsense. So what do we have here? For those of you who don't gather it, this is a bolster lock. So in order for a bolster lock to have bolsters in Mokutai, you have to get a full Mokutai frame. So basically, this is a full Mokutai frame, as you can see here. And it's milled inside to place those scales. So man, those scales better be great, because there's a humongous loss of material. Imagine that. All of this has been milled to place the scales here, and the same on the other side. All this piece of Mokutai has been milled to insert this scale. And man, is that scale just mesmerizing. And I asked THIERRY, because I was concerned about the way that the Frenchies does the Mokutai. Most of the time it's kind of a little bit faded, and but there's a reasoning behind that. They want the Mokutai to be usable, so they don't want to have scratches or stuff like that, so they do it matte. But when you ask them to do it polished, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous finish, gorgeous polish on this Mokutai. And even the bronze that I don't really crave on this one, just a little tiny touch of bronze here, and on the back spacer here is just fantastic. I just love the way he finished it. Only on the clip he went with his usual finish, a little bit more matte, but I don't care because it brings some contrast. And actually, the colors are still really vivid, even though it's not really polished as it can be here. Absolutely gorgeous finish on this Mokutai. And now, the carbo quartz. I mean, I've talked to Jim about that and others, and I can safely say that this is the best carbo quartz I've ever seen. So check that. Most of the time, depending on the contouring, you will have an outcome that is not, I mean, it can be a little bit erratic, and on other pieces that I had, I was not really happy with the finish because it came with like a linear finish and not a lot of those, holographic places, because when you move your knife like that, you see, it's kind of holographic and it's just beautiful. The quartz on this one is popping absolutely fantastically. Now, what can I say? The contouring on his knives are sublime. And on this one, actually, it's I will call it the V2. I don't know if he called it V2, the THIERRY called it the V2. But the first version were way thicker here. I mean, they were larger on the width. And here it's very slim and very nice. And even though it's a big knife, it's lightweight. I don't measure it, but it's honestly really lightweight. And it could be used as an EDC if it was not, because you see I'm using my gloves. Of course, this knife will never be in my pocket, even though it has a pocket clip. It's a showpiece by all means. Now, the finish on his knives are crazy. Now, just a word about the contouring. I mentioned that. Check the thickness of the piece here of the carbo quartz and how it's thinned here. You have a tremendous amount of contouring, whereas it's on the lateral part or the vertical part. It's just insane. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant contouring that you have. Of course, as you can expect, the V bolster here junction is just absolutely flawless, no gap whatsoever. Check that. Of course, no gap as well here on any, I mean, you won't find a gap anywhere. And here, even though it's a bolster lock, in the closed position, you feel no gap. Absolutely zero gap. Check that. That is insane, because you have to understand that's a spring. So in order to have it like perfectly aligned like that, I've seen that once in my life, only once, and it was even not as perfect as this one. It was the bolster lock that I had, the Barker and Williams collaboration. That was the only one that was maybe as good as this one, but not as good. It was almost perfect, but this is absolutely perfect. You have no gap here, and this right there is probably the most impressive part of the knife, because in order to get that, you have to be extremely, extremely precise. Absolutely gorgeous. So like I said, I don't care about the screw, because he made them they're not popping and they're blackened, so they blend exceptionally well in the beautiful carbo quartz. And again, the view, I mean, the eye is caught, sorry, by the carbo quartz, the mokutai there, and the screw. I don't care. And they're very small and not popping, and they're black, so that's fine. Now check this backspacer. Man, the contour on this it's a sculpted backspacer, and you have here the ceramic balls. It's just so well done. You see that the groove that he does here, you know, in order to make the backspacer pop, it's just fantastic. Here you have a lanyard hole for those of you who wants to use that. I don't. And the 3D sculpted clip is just fantastic as well. Now check, I mean, the centering on this knife. You see, you have the tip of the blade here going perfectly. It's like a bullseye with the tip of the backspacer that shows you perfectly the middle. Absolutely fantastic. The detent is perfect. The action is phenomenal. Oh man, this design here, it's a full hollow. And you know how hard it is to make a long hollow like that with no bump whatsoever. The grind is just fantastic. Check the finish on the sorry about that. The almost polished finish. I'm gonna die on the sweat. Sorry about that. And I don't know if if I'm gonna be able to finish this video. I will do it because I know that I don't do second takes. Polish finish on the spine. How gorgeous is that? Beautiful. Perfect grind. I absolutely adore that that tab. Sorry. Oh man, I think I'm gonna die. 2 minutes to finish that video. Yeah. I don't usually like too much width. This is something that I don't really crave in Tashi design, for example. When you have too much width here, and just a plain tab like that, I don't really like. But on this one, the fact that you have the grooves here on the tab just makes it for me. It just does it. And you have a tiny bit here of jimping. So for those of you, I mean, you wouldn't miss a flip on this one, but the jimping even allows you to have even more reach. And the action is just, as you saw, absolutely fantastic. It's smooth as they can come. The detent is just fantastic, as I said. This knife is just the absolute perfection. Like I said, if you ever have the chance to grab any of THIERRY's knife, just jump on it. 1 minute left. 1 minute left. I will leave it at the contemplation of this hand rub. Absolutely phenomenal. On the top of the makers for the finish of the on the hand rub. It's just I like the quality of this video here. Check that. You can see that even with this closer look, you can see absolutely no gap no imperfection on this beautiful hand rubbed and the beautiful design that we have here. Thierry, thank you so much for that knife. I am enjoying more that you can ever know, and this one, I'll definitely be buried with it. And with that being said, my friend, I will leave it at that and catch you hopefully soon, if I can grab another knife, hopefully soon for another video, even though less and less people are watching. I don't care. If it's only for 2 of you, that will be more than enough for me. Bye-bye, my friends, and catch you very soon.